health and fitness with David Hollywood.
With DS Sports. Is your sports club ready for a Christmas kit upgrade? Contact DS Sports. dssports.ie.
Hi there, and welcome to this week's show. Loads to look forward to this evening. One of handball's biggest legends joins us shortly to tell us about how he got on bringing the sport he loves to the Midlands Prison. Hormone Replacement Therapy, or HRT, will be free for all women experiencing menopause from January. We're joined by Doireann Crossan from the National Women's Council to talk about the progress made and the work still to be done. And Dillon from Offaly County Council is on with us for Positive Ageing Week. You'll find out what's on offer from their age-friendly strategy. And Sean Bennett is back on with us to tell us about how Leinster got on in the All Ireland Wheelchair Hurling final. Now, in honour of the European Week of Sport for 2024, I'm very glad to say that handball, the sport of handball, was brought to the Midlands Prison last week, and Paddy Donovan from Laois GAA Handball joins us to talk about the whole day and to what ends the event was carried off. Loads more to cover across the world of handball as well this evening on the programme. Paddy, thanks very much for joining us on the show.
You're welcome, David.
Tell us, how did it end up that yourself and another colleague of yours, I think, was it...
Emmett Quinlan.
Emmett from Clockballacolla Handball Club went to the Midlands Prison to bring the sport of handball there. Yeah,
about 6 months ago, I was invited into the prison by Laois Sports Partnership to do coaching sessions as part of Drugs Awareness Week. They do campaigns in the prison for various programs that are going on the outside, and they bring them. It's inside the prison is supposed to reflect what happens on the outside. So in I went and I met a couple of groups actually, various sections in the prison, coached for 2 days. There seems to have been good feedback from the prisoners and from the prison staff of lifting morale and that kind of thing. So 6 months later, a couple of the prisoners had progressed, had been training every day, or more or less every day, and there's a couple of good players in there, and they requested that I go back. So we went in this week for a European Exercise Week. This time I brought Emmett Quinlan with me. He's a health and fitness instructor from Boris and Osprey, but he had played in the World Wall Ball Championships in Limerick, and fairly fit guy. So the two of us went in, and we met over 2 days. 18 players who 16 of them didn't really ever have formal handball coaching, but they had played it, some as youngsters in clubs. There was a big representation from the traveller community in there. And they had never received any formal coaching on the different strokes or anything, or didn't know anything about tactics or rules or that kind of thing. So we had an enjoyable experience over the 2 days, I must say. Very good feedback all around. It was 2 good days, I must say now.
And from your own perspective, you will have brought the sport of handball to many eyes and to many people. In your experience, what's the trajectory of understanding? Like, it occurs to me that once people get involved with the game, they realise just how much fun it is and how good it is for staying active.
Yeah, I suppose some people would take it up as a second or maybe a third sport as a child, wintertime sport and that kind of thing. But there's I suppose it passes down through families. My family is everybody involved at some level. And if you go through clubs around the country, in lots of towns and villages, if you go in and say, who plays handball around here, it'll be, oh, there's Kennedy's, or there's McCarthy's in Mullingar, or there's O'Brien's in Crinkle, and down in Limerick where I come from, or it'll be Quishes or so. But once you get involved in it, it kind of takes off. Local level, county level, provincial level, All Ireland Championships, and if you manage to piece enough money together, you can go to World Championships. I've been lucky enough to be in Canada, America, Mexico, all over Ireland, and even played in Spain.
It's amazing that the sport can bring you to those places. But by the same token, I imagine it must have been special from your perspective to be able to bring the sport to those in the Midlands Prison. It sounds like what you had there in terms of an audience, they were receptive, and they really enjoyed their time with you.
They did, and it's they're well tuned in actually. If those that have an interest in handball know exactly what's going on in Irish handball and what's happening at World Championships, and who are the top players and who's being beaten. It's surprising that even though they are cut off, the knowledge that they have, if you've an interest in the game, they're well informed.
Is it a idea that you'd like to see sort of transformed into maybe a state investment programme, that sports like handball are brought to prisons around the country, and that this becomes a more formalised and financed kind of policy?
Yes, well, I suppose up to recently we didn't have coaches that would go in on a formal basis, but GAA Handball now has 4 coaches at national level spread across the 4 provinces. So there's no reason why the development officer in Munster couldn't go into Cork and Limerick prisons. There's no reason why the Connacht development officer couldn't go into Castlerea. And I saw a job advertised recently for a development officer for North County Dublin. Now they have schools programmes, but that happens to be the area where Mountjoy, the Docus Centre and the Juvenile Detention Centre at Lusk is located. So certainly possibilities. If Philly McMahon and Rory Stories can go in doing GAA football, but then there's no reason why handball, because if there's one thing a prison has, it's loads of walls.
Yeah. And ultimately, if we think that sports like handball are good for our health and our fitness and our welfare, and we want our prisons to be places of reform, then prisoners have to have access to these same things as we do, so that they can be on top of their physical and mental health.
Yes, and it's a low cost actually for the prison. But we are able to buy unofficial balls at around €1. You don't need a lot of equipment. There's no great security risk. It's like most of the prisons will have exercise halls where basketball, indoor soccer, where they play already. It doesn't cost anything to paint the lines on the walls and to paint the lines on the floor for one wall handball. And there's space for 3 courts actually in the Midlands Prison in Portlaoise. And when we got there, we divided them into 3 groups and off we went. So it's certainly possible, more than possible.
Yeah, I think certainly from this perspective, it sounds like an eminently sensible thing to bring in and to support and to encourage. Let's broaden our conversation, Paddy, since we have you with us. Tons going on in the world of wall ball, not least of all the World Wall Ball Championships that took place in UL recently. You might talk us through how the event went.
Okay, that event was the first standalone wall ball World Championships before 40 by 20 and other codes would be combined with one wall. Over 1,000 participants in UL, 9 courts, players from Canada, South America, England, Spain, Ireland. The cream of handballers from New York City travelled in big numbers, and there was all kinds of grades from open, ABC, juveniles, ladies and men, masters, and we had Laois representatives at it. Kevin Brennan played in the over 40s, and Elizabeth Pearson, who's a ladies player, who she doesn't play in the open now, she plays down in one of the lower grades, but she actually won a gold medal in doubles with Chloe Philpott from Clare. But it's I just want to pay a little bit of a tribute to Ballacalla Handball Club, because they have no 40 by 20 court, no tradition. Just Kevin Brennan started developing it there about 7 years ago, and it's great to see a young player like Elizabeth Pearson. She's only a young girl, she's only 17 or 18, coming through. And actually, last weekend she was in Valencia in Spain at the Spanish One Wall Open and won her grade down there as well. So it just goes to show what the possibilities are when you go at it. But the wall ball in Limerick, while it was a huge success and having over 1,000 people at it, the 4-wall World Championships is coming to Ireland in 3 weeks' time. The the last week in October. The Open is going to be played in the National Handball Centre in Croke Park. You'll have 5 times world champion Paul Brady, Killian Carl, world champion Killian Carl and Martina McMahon. All those will be in Croke Park, but the other grades are spread out across Leinster, with Laois, Kilkenny, Carlow, Wexford, Offaly hosting the follow-up grades. So in Laois, in St. Bridget's in Monivea and in Cullehill, they will be hosting World Championship games, Masters, underage, ladies, both ladies and men. So it's a busy time for Laois handball anyway, and it's going to be busy for the rest of the courts throughout the Midlands, including Offaly, preparing for a World Championships. There's an awful lot of administration, and over there in Offaly, Kevin Cook is chairman of a number of committees in Croke Park and does a huge amount of work for handball, but he's going to be a busy boy. There's actually 1,640 entries into the World Championships, and it's going to be spread over 24 different venues across Leinster.
It's fantastic.
So it's a logistical nightmare. Sat-navs are going to be busy anyway. It's exciting times to have World Championships in both Laois and Offaly. It's something to cherish.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that the pinnacle of a sport like this can be spread across a region, so that not just one destination gets to kind of consider itself the host in that respect. Just as we finish up, Paddy, I wanted to bring you back to the point in the question of these World Championships. Obviously, handball is very much connected to our community and parish GA clubs in Ireland. But when you mentioned other countries, obviously there's an Irish diaspora abroad that will carry the flame for handball and wall ball generally. Is that the only place that it grows, or are in other countries, is it developing from a sort of a different socio background?
Handball in general, I suppose, is would have started as a street game in many countries. It's in Belgium and France. The Basques play, I think there's 8 different versions of it down in southern Spain. Across South America, there's various versions. There's 4-wall, 3-wall, 1-wall. They play with various balls. There's different sets of routes. But wherever the Irish have gone, they have brought it with them. Our current world champion is from Mallow, and he's out playing in Chicago. Martin Mulcairns is playing in Texas, I think, and he took a year out to go to Africa and put up 1-wall courts out in the middle of nowhere, someplace in Central Africa. Forgive me now for not knowing the exact location. But wherever the Irish have gone, they have brought the game with them. And in Laois, from the very beginning, Phil Casey was the first world champion back in the 1860s. He came from Mountrath to America, to New York first, to be the best handballer in New York and America, and then he challenged the best player in Ireland. So the Irish have been going over across the Irish Sea to America, bringing the game in both directions for a long time. So having a World Championships with such a big numbers travelling from the Americas is nothing unusual.
No, but it's certainly something fantastic. And not to end on a downer, but we did want to talk about the situation regarding the sports complex in Portlaoise, because I understand you're really deeply involved in trying to push that forward. But in a lot of respects, it's like trying to push soup up a hill in a lot of respects. Yeah,
just before the last local elections, a group of us got together from badminton, squash Ireland, racquetball Ireland, juvenile darts, table tennis, wheelchair sports, visually impaired sports, and self-defense groups and dance groups in Portlaoise. And when we met, we all had the same problem, is that we didn't have hall time or space. The Panthers basketball club are expanding no end, and it's difficult to get into a hall to develop any sport in Portlaoise or Laois. So it's just frustrating that we have identified 2 sites in St. Fintan's on the Dublin Road and at Terrell's Land site on the Stradbally Road. And last night, Brian Stanley, the local Sinn Féin TD, identified another site on the Mountrath Road that the Department of Agriculture bought in 2015. And there's stagnation on all 3 sites. we just like somebody somewhere, the council, to sit down with the councillors, with the local TDs, and pick a site and go from there. But since before COVID, we're at this, no site picked. Frustrating is as a mild word now for what we see there's no progress. And we'll have an election shortly, and I'm sure today in the budget there'll be a huge spend on infrastructure, but none of that can come to Laois Sport unless we have a site.
Yeah.
So
well, we have to hope.
I'll leave it at that.
We have to hope that progress gets made as soon as possible in that respect, because as you laid out there's so many constituencies of people who need an indoor multi-sports complex in Portlaoise, and they're being underserviced at the moment in terms of that situation. Paddy, look, well done on everything in relation to handball, and the best of luck when it comes to the World Championships across the Midlands, and we'll catch up with you shortly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next on Health and Fitness, we're talking health equality with the National Women's Council.
Health and fitness.
With DS Sports. Is your sports club ready for a Christmas kit upgrade? Contact DS Sports at 085 871 5311 or info@dsports.ie. DS Sports, the teamwear specialists. Your success, our priority. Let's grow together.
Midlands 103.
So from a health and fitness perspective, Budget 2025 produced some interesting outcomes. One we're featuring on the programme this evening is the fact that hormone replacement therapy, commonly known as HRT, will now be free for all women experiencing menopause from January of 2025. So this is coming in January. We are joined on the programme by the National Women's Council Women's Health Coordinator, Doireann Crossan. Doireann, thanks very much for taking our call.
Thanks very much, David. It's great to be on the air.
Tell us, this policy that's coming into place, the National Women's Council are obviously coming out as being very positive about it. How substantial a change is it compared to the way women's health had been regarded generations previous?
Yeah, absolutely. We've obviously welcomed this announcement that HRT will now be free for women experiencing menopause symptoms. And as you said, that'll kind of kick in January 2025. So we know that this investment is going to fund the cost of medicines, patches, but also devices. And I suppose we would see this as a fairly significant shift and part of a change that we've seen over the number of years in relation to, the conversation around menopause in Ireland. With women, being more comfortable and more open, sharing their experiences. And I think, Tuesday's announcement around HRT reflects that their voices have been heard, that they've been taken on board by the Department of Health. And it's a really hugely beneficial step in terms of women's reproductive health.
HRT, tell us exactly what it can do for women going through menopause. What are the benefits of it?
So HRT, so hormone replacement therapy, can really be a game changer for women. And that's not to say it's the right choice for every woman, but for people who do choose to take it up, it can offer relief for a lot of symptoms of the menopause. So that can be things like hot flushes, mood swings, joint pain, chronic headaches. And it has also been shown to lower the risk of some more long-term conditions that particularly can affect women in older age. So things like osteoporosis and heart disease. So as I said, it's not necessarily going to be a fix-all for everyone, but for lots of women who are entering into their menopausal years, it can be really, really beneficial to lean on this medication and offers them, I suppose, return to some quality of life that they may have, seen diminish in terms of being affected by some of those side effects and symptoms of the menopause.
When it comes to HRT, how widespread is its usage at the moment by women going through menopause? Has it increased a lot in recent years?
It is fairly widespread. It has definitely increased in recent years just because of, our understanding of HRT, of better information being provided by GPs, by primary care professionals. And I think, again, as I noted, that kind of conversation around the menopause becoming more mainstream, that has definitely encouraged women to actually, go to their GP and talk about the symptoms of menopause and not feel like that this is something that they have to endure or suffer in silence. So that has definitely, increased the availability and the uptake of HRT. And we know that currently HRT is available to medical card holders. So this, initiative in terms of making it free would really reduce the cost for all other women who are currently spending, we know, anywhere between 30 and 70 euro a month. And that's not taking into account, obviously, GP visit costs, which can be, again, 50, 70 euro a pop.
Aside from the free HRT for women going through menopause from January onwards, the free IVF scheme is also being expanded.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is another initiative that we would have called for and that we really welcomed following Tuesday's budget announcement. So for people who might not have heard, essentially the scheme has been extended to allow couples with an existing child access the treatment. So previously, if you already had a child, you weren't necessarily eligible for entering into the free IVF scheme. So that's now been changed. Another thing that has changed is that the scheme is now going to include donor-assisted IVF. So we see these expansions as really positive, and will be, really welcome by women and by couples who, require it. And in particular, I suppose the inclusion of donor-assisted IVF would be, a really positive step for LGBT plus couples as well.
So we've got the free HRT programme, the expansion of the free IVF scheme. From the National Women's Council perspective, generally speaking, was this a positive budget for the issues that you were lobbying on? And as a follow-on to that, what would you like to see addressed next from the National Women's Council perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of great things obviously announced this week, and we have welcomed them. But I suppose for us, while a 35 million euro investment in women's health is, very welcome, we're not sure these measures are really doing enough to bridge women's health inequalities. And we know that the Department of Health has their Women's Health Action Plan, which is running from 2024 to 2025. And we really want to see, I suppose, more tailored, more culturally appropriate supports in the areas of health that would bridge some gaps, I suppose, for more marginalised women. So, for example, traveller women, Roma women, migrant women, perhaps disabled women as well, who really often don't see some of the benefits of some of these mainstream initiatives, maybe due to, lack of access or discrimination that they've experienced in the service. So that's something that NWC has repeatedly called for. So I suppose more targeted supports, more targeted implementation of some of these initiatives to help those groups of women.
The term of this government is coming to an end, be it before or after Christmas, so we can kind of review their performance in relation to women's issues. How do the NWC assess them?
I think if we were to compare, the state of women's health, even going back to 2019, 2020, I think it would be remiss of us not to acknowledge that there have been some really, really positive improvements. For example, the free contraception scheme, which has been rolled out in the lifetime of this government. It's now available from 17 to 35-year-olds. Obviously, NWC is calling for that to be continuously extended, and we do hope to see that in the future. But there has been, specific investment in women's health and, I suppose, action plans to go with that as well, which has been really, really brilliant. I suppose there are still some areas that we are concerned aren't getting enough investment. Women's mental health would be an example of one of those. We did see a 16 million euro investment this budget in new developments for mental health. But really, it's not going far enough in terms of tackling that kind of mental health crisis, particularly when you're looking at specific groups of women who have, specific needs and concerns, like traveller women, Roma women, migrant women who need tailored supports in that area.
On reflection, women's health has been so underserviced by the medical industry, by the political machine, let's say, over previous generations. It's going to take a lot of investment and a lot of work to bring about true equality when it comes to a lot of these issues.
Absolutely. I think that we've started on a journey of really recognizing that, women and men have different health outcomes, that there are specific supports and services that women need. But, we're still at the fairly beginning stages of that journey, and there's definitely a lot more to be done in terms of targeted investment, in terms of expanding some of the schemes that we've seen recently with respect to whether it's free contraception, whether it's HRT. So we do hope to see further improvements into the future as well for women's health outcomes.
Doireann Crossan, Women's Health Coordinator with the National Women's Council. Thanks for joining us on the programme.
Thanks very much, David.
Positive Ageing Week runs until the 6th of October. There's loads on offer in the Midlands. Offaly County Council are joining us to tell you what they've got going on this week and beyond.
Health and fitness
With DS Sports. Is your sports club ready for a Christmas kit upgrade? Contact DS Sports at 085 871 5311 or info@dsports.ie. DS Sports, the teamwear specialists. Your success, our priority. Let's grow together.
Midlands 103.
This week on Health and Fitness, we are talking about positive ageing. It is a positive ageing week, and to that end, we've brought Offaly County Council onto the programme to talk about the Offaly Age-Friendly County Strategy. Director of Services with the local authority is Anne Dillon. And thanks very much for joining us on the programme this evening.
Thanks very much, David. Delighted to be with you.
Look, I think first and foremost, it's good and important to underline the positive fact that the local authorities have age-friendly county strategies. Beyond those words, what are we talking about when we talk about them?
Well, the age-friendly strategy is an interagency initiative, so it's led and facilitated by the local authority, but we're joined by agency partners like An Garda Síochána, Health Service Executive, Offaly Local Development Company, Laois Offaly Local Link, Laois Offaly Education and Training Board, and we come together every second month and we review actions that are assigned to us individually or collectively to do with age-friendly initiatives. So last week we launched our second age-friendly strategy. It will last until 2029. And the type of initiatives that are included in the strategy are around transport links between our towns and villages in Offaly, social initiatives like social walks and social gatherings provided by Offaly Local Development Company. An Garda Síochána give crime prevention, home security talks, and Laois Offaly ETB and TUS give opportunities for learning and lifelong learning. And then our own local authority services around housing, improved accessibility of our housing, improved age-friendly design, access to housing grants for private homeowners, older people, and a whole range of exercise and physical activity programs by our sports partnership, our library and arts programs and our community programs as well. So there's a whole range of different targets outlined in the strategy, and each agency takes responsibility for those and reports back to the Alliance as they meet every second month. And very importantly, the Offaly Older Persons Council are represented on the Alliance, so they can directly tell the agencies what's required and give feedback on the services that are already in place.
It's an incredible amount of work involved there, and I imagine keeping abreast of it is similar to being an air traffic controller by the sounds of it. I'm curious to actually get an idea of what the feedback is from older people about this. You mentioned there that they're part of the process in terms of assessing the various policies and programmes that are in place. What kind of things do you hear back?
Well, definitely, and they're very vocal and very active in Offaly. They will point out where there are difficulties in accessing services. We were very proud that the HSE could report under the last strategy about frailty services at the A&E in Tullamore Hospital, so that if you arrive at A&E in Tullamore as an older person, you will be treated appropriately as an older person. That was a huge success the last time. Feedback on housing design, they get to speak directly with our technicians in our housing department. We're very proud that there are 2 projects from Offaly shortlisted for the National Age Friendly Awards in November. One is a housing development in Clonminch and Tullamore, developed by Offaly County Council in partnership with Oakley Housing Association. And so that was shortlisted on the basis of the appropriateness of the design for older persons, designed specifically to meet the needs of older persons. And the second project was one developed by the Older Persons Council themselves. It's a craft project in association with Laois Offaly ETB, and it's needle felting, where a group of older people came together over a series of weeks, chatted amongst themselves. It was a social outlet and learning a new skill. And that project has also been shortlisted for a national award. So we get direct feedback from the older people themselves, a lot about social interaction, a lot about transport and access to services. And we've been able to tailor some of the local transport services to meet needs around accessing social services or health services. So it's been a really productive 5 years so far, and we're really looking forward to the next 5 years and the next strategy working together again.
Yeah, and the work you're doing in this regard really important on the basis that we do have an ageing population, and it's a growing need across our communities in the Midlands. As Director of Services, Anne, you'll be across so much of what Offaly County Council does. I imagine sometimes days can be long, and the work maybe doesn't give you tangible, immediate reward based on whatever the process is you're going through. But when it comes to age-friendly outreach programs, and for instance, seeing some of the programs going up for awards like the needle felting and this type of thing, that must give a great deal of personal satisfaction to know that you're directly involved in a connection service that's actually bringing people together.
Absolutely. It's a privilege for me to chair the Alliance, and it's very rewarding to see the improvements that we can see incrementally over time by working together. The agencies are aware what we're each doing individually, and we can identify the gaps where there maybe services are needed. So it's a very effective approach to meeting the needs of the older population. And as you say, over 21% of the 83,000 or so people living in Offaly now are over 60, as identified in the last census in 2022. So it's accepted generally that we need to design and plan for an increasingly ageing population, but it is very rewarding. It's great to meet our colleagues directly in other agencies, and the Older Persons Council themselves bring a lot of energy and fun to the process as well. So it really is an effective way of addressing older people's needs.
You mentioned a couple of words there that I want to revisit. The Older Persons Council bringing energy and fun, and part of Positive Ageing Week is actually challenging ageism and the kind of stereotypes and misconceptions we apply to people who are older. But as you've just underlined there, apart from obviously having a far more developed sense of perspective the older you get, you can bring that energy and that fun to any situation regardless of what age you are. And it's important this week of all weeks to underline that the last thing we should ever be doing is allowing older people in our societies and our communities to become isolated, because ultimately that speeds up the ageing process and makes life harder to get through.
Absolutely. And we're delighted this week to have a whole range of projects and programs to mark Positive Ageing Week. And as you say, they challenge the how we think about aging and reframe how we think about growing old. Some of them are, just to mention a couple, an intergenerational robotics project, where grandparents and their grandchildren are coming together to build robots. And that's a 6-week programme in Tullamore Library. We have another programme operating out of Banagher Library, where we're helping older people to learn digital skills that will help them to confidently navigate the digital world, including video calling, banking and shopping. And we have other programmes in partnership with Laois Offaly ETB, again around needle felting and craft and glass painting. And An Garda Síochána have been offering advice sessions in our libraries as well around home security and crime prevention and so on. And then there's a whole range of celebratory events. We have Songs and Stories in Eden Derry Library. We have the Gramophone Society in Tullamore Library. And we have coffee mornings across our whole branch library network, which are always really, really popular. So we really do try to encourage people to come together. Our partners in Offaly Local Development Company are training walk leaders to lead social walks. And they also host social gatherings and social lunches, which are really popular across a number of centres across the county. So yeah, absolutely. We're delighted to be part of Positive Ageing Week and again, working with our partners and highlighting some of the programmes we have throughout the rest of the year.
There's loads of stuff going on that you've just mentioned there. If anyone listening wants to find out more, first and foremost, I suppose they can drop into the library, be it in Tullamore or any of the libraries across Offaly to find out more details.
Absolutely. Any of our branches would be happy to guide them. They can also have a look at our website, offaly.ie, where the full range of programmes are detailed there. And the age-friendly strategy itself is available on offaly.ie.
Yeah, it's actually really comprehensive. I've had it open this morning and there's a huge amount of detail in it and a lot of work put into it. So congratulations on that front. And the best of luck with the rest of the week. Just on a adjacent point, you mentioned the library, and I think it's something that we can take for granted. We always have done over the years, maybe because they've always been there, but they're a real fulcrum and important part of any and every community across the country, because the local authorities do so well to keep them developed. Just how important is the library space in from Offaly County Council's perspective, and what I suppose you guys managed to keep it relevant and an important part of the community beyond the fact that you lease out books?
Absolutely. And in May of this year, we just launched our new library development plan for Offaly. And that sets out the huge range of services that are available from libraries across the county. And it is, as you say, it's not just about book lending anymore. We have programs across parenting. We have sensory rooms for children with autism. We have a whole range of craft initiatives, as we heard, around for older people. But the programming is really diverse and interesting, and we're very proud of the library offering in Offaly, and it's continually evolving and adapting to meet the needs of the population. We also have a My Open Library service, which allows people to access libraries outside of normal hours as well, which really expands the offering. We have self-service systems for book rental and returns, and we have study spaces as well for students. So the library truly is at the heart of the communities where we have our branches, and we'd encourage everyone just to come in, have a look, have a browse and chat to our branch librarians who do such fantastic work. It's a great service and it's open to all.
Director of Services with Offaly County Council, Anne Dillon, thanks for joining us on the programme.
Thanks very much, David.
Next, Leinster's wheelchair hurling goalkeeper Sean Bennett returns to Health and Fitness to tell you about their All Ireland final experience.
Health and Fitness
with DS Sports. Is your sports club ready for a Christmas kit upgrade? Contact DS Sports at 085 871 5311 or info@dssports.ie. DS Sports, the teamwear specialists. Your success, our priority. Let's grow together.
Midlands 103.
Now we're turning our attention to the sport of wheelchair hurling. The All Ireland took place in Carlow over the course of the previous weekend. I'm very glad to say that Sean Bennett from the Leinster team joins us to reflect on a successful championship held, and certainly a successful one from Leinster's perspective, into an All Ireland final against a great Munster side. Sean, well done on finishing runner-up in the All Ireland. How was the day from your own perspective?
Thank you, David. Yeah, we're really chuffed to be going in underdogs and come out with a runner-up All Ireland medal. It's a fair achievement for a group of players that has only been put together, we'd say, in the last year and a half or so. There's a couple of young fellas on the team. Niall Cray, he's going on 13. Michael Dennehy is 15, and he's from Kinnity. Sorry, Niall Cray's from Rathdowney Earl. Michael Dennehy's from Kinnity. From most all white. So a nice perspective across Leinster there. We got from Waterford, on the Waterford to Kenny border, Alex Hennerby, Tom White, Pat Rattoneska, Kieran Cushion from Stradbally, and myself from Rosenallis, and we have Stephen Robbins from Ballycommon. We were just chuffed to be in the final. We had a good game against Connacht in the first one. We won that one comprehensively, and then the next game against Ulster was a really dog-eat-dog battle. We won that by a single point, which put us in the position for the final against Munster.
Now, when I was watching the Leinster round of the provincial round robin that you guys have, Ulster were a really competitive outfit, and by the sounds of it, they gave you a serious game when the two of you faced off. To win by a point must have been fantastic and a thrilling experience.
The jubilation that we had to get to the final was just unbelievable. The youngsters that, they're chuffed to have a medal in their bag at this stage of their lives, only young players, and they're the future of this wheelchair hurling and the future of our Leinster. Not to mention, of course, the parents that bring them everywhere for games. Their whole day is taken up with the youngsters also, as you can understand.
Yeah, and tell us, when we were chatting the last time, Leinster had just picked off their first win of the season, as it were, in the last game in Kilbeggan.
In Kilbeggan.
Yeah, so what do you think the turnaround's been in terms of results improving and the side becoming more competitive?
I think belief in ourselves, first of all, but Shane Murphy, our coach, and Brian Carberry, they have been really pushing all the stops to try and get us performing better. And Pat Linen, these guys are all working behind the scenes to make the game better for ourselves too. They don't get recognition for all the work that they do. But Shane, certainly, this was our goal. Shane was constantly telling us during the All Ireland just to get this in the bag, or to get it as close as possible to the bag. Because the league was kind of out of our range at that stage anyhow, David,
And you certainly had a good day out then when it came to the action in Carlow for the All Ireland. What about the final itself? That Munster side have some really excellent players. I imagine you were up against it from the start.
Actually, we stayed with them for the first half. It was neck and neck in the first half, but they seemed to pull away a goal in point then, and they didn't win by a whole pile. Because actually, a couple of the guys, Brian Carberry and Tom Cray, said that was one of my best performances in the goals since the start of the year. So I'm really chuffed at my age for that kind of a compliment.
You must have been on cloud nine after a day like that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. What's next for wheelchair hurling then? This is kind of, I presume that was the pinnacle of the season.
That was the pinnacle. They were jabbers up and recruit new players. I know there's players sitting around doing nothing at home, and this is something that ticks all my boxes. And you see the smile on these young lads' faces. That I'll send you on some photographs during the course of the day, just to see these guys with a medal and runner-up All Ireland medal around their neck, and they're just chuffed to be in that position at a young age. Like, these chaps have a serious future in wheelchair sport, not just in hurling, but in basketball, in international scenes. Conor obviously has been across the water, and on numerous occasions he's on the under-21 basketball All-Ireland squad.
And if anyone listening thinks that they actually might fit the profile here, and it sounds like something they want to get involved in, if they got in touch with Leinster GA, that would be the way to do it. Yeah,
even through yourself, David, through Midlands Radio 3 there, there's loads of ways of getting in touch. You'd be surprised what people don't even know that this exists. Yeah. And no matter who you said, I didn't know that was a game at all. I didn't know it played wheelchair hurling or that kind of stuff. But it's just, I know it does it for me. Yeah. How were the hosts in Carlow? What were the surroundings like, all of that, the atmosphere? Oh, it was beautiful. We had a lovely introduction with the youth from Carlow, made a bit of a grandstand as we went in. You know yourself, it happened to hurl on the floor and all that stuff. And the media was there. It was actually filmed, most of it, through the Munster crowd. I can get you some footage of that if that's what you want going forward. Yeah, it was lovely. The setting was lovely, and with some food then supplied by Bosco's of Portlaoise, and that was fantastic. Really a great day for Leinster.
And between, say, now and the return of the league, do you guys continue to meet up and have training sessions and that type of thing?
That's the plan, but it'll probably be the other side of Christmas now before we get back at it, David. But that's what we're hoping for, to get a good run at the league next year.
And what about from your own perspective, Sean, now that you won't be meeting up with the Leinster team for wheelchair hurling over the course of the winter? What do you do to kind of keep active and keep the mind in a good spot in this kind of respect?
Well, I go up to the wheelchair basketball in Tunnesley of a Monday night. That's from 7 to 9. So anyone wants to play basketball, they can go. I'm too old to be competitive, but I like to keep in shape. So I just go up there and have a bit of a run around in the chair and do my best to keep in some bit of shape. Because you know yourself, when you're at the table and the pounds keep piling on and you just can't get them off then.
No, it's about staying active.
It'll also help my wheelchair skills as well, because, we need wheelchair skills if you're playing either, especially with hurling, because you have a hurl in your hand and you've seen it yourself, David, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah,
well, it certainly takes... it's more than just your ability with the hurl, of course. There's so much more on top of things to be able to navigate the court properly. And it's not all about, like the Connacht guy says, it's not all about the hurling. It's about blocking and being in the way, and anyone can do it. We're hoping that it's games for all is what we're trying to achieve, and there was a couple of girls now in the Munster team, and they played exceptional. It's great to see people derive such meaning from these kinds of things. And as Sean's just said there, if anyone is interested in getting involved, you can email sport@midlands103.com. And I know the guys in Leinster GAA would be very eager to be contacted as well by anyone who's looking to get involved, because as Sean says, it is games for all, and that's what we want to see here at Midlands 103 and across the region. Sean, look, congratulations on your All Ireland runners-up medal. We look forward to seeing how Leinster get on over the course of 2025, and in the meantime enjoy whatever bits and pieces you get to do on the court with basketball and beyond, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you very much, Dave, and thank you very much for your time.
Another week, another health and fitness is done. Joe Cooney is about to join you with Country Roads. As ever, take good care of yourself, and I'll talk to you very soon.